Hey everyone, welcome back to Craps University. Today we're going to talk about another craps player persona. We've talked about the grinder, but today we're going to talk about the hot shooter chaser. And their kind of motto is they either ride or they regret. So let's first define what a hot shooter chaser is, or what a hot shooter is, and who this persona is chasing. That is someone who's gone beyond the expectation of the normal roll. So that's somebody that's made 3 or 4 points, rolled 30 plus times, or hit crazy streak of numbers like 6 or 8 without hitting the 7. So my advice to a hot shooter and what you're chasing is, if somebody's rolled 8 to 10 times, probably 10 times, that's a hot shooter. You don't necessarily have to hit 3 to 4 points, but that second part is maybe they've hit a streak of numbers like 6 and 8 or 5 and 9, numbers that you can press and make money and collect. So that everybody has their own definition of what a hot shooter is and what they are looking for if they're chasing. So why do people jump in mid-roll? And I've talked a lot about like people jumping in or people actually buying in mid-roll. Don't buy in mid-roll, but maybe if you have chips, join the action. If you're going to chase that hot shooter, timing matters. You don't jump in on the first hit, okay? Let's say the points of 5 and they hit the 8. That's not a hot shooter. If they're hitting consistently 6, 8, 9, or even 5, they hit 5 to set that point. Look and try to see the history. I've never seen a craps table that has a board of dice combinations that have hit in the past. Kind of like a roulette board. Every roll in roulette is unique and not one is dependent on another. But if you could see a board in craps, and I'm sure that they've got them in some casinos, just like the roulette board, that would allow people to see how many times they have hit. So another example, has anybody played bubble craps? Or pop craps is another name, where it's a machine. You can see at the bottom and scroll across and see how many numbers you have hit without a 7. So that would be very interesting if they had that at a craps table, but they obviously don't. So some of the guidelines to look out for. Wait for the shooter to establish the consistent rhythm, and you define what you're looking for there. Look for 2 or more points made. Yes, that's guidelines, but you can establish your own guidelines. Watch for a frequency of box numbers. If they're hitting 6 and 8 quite a bit, or 9, or even 4 and 10 the outside, sure, that would be the time to jump in. And if you're bought in already, you don't have to play every single roll, especially if the dice go to somebody brand new that you're not used to. Maybe sit out a little bit. And then you can jump in. You have your chips ready to go. You can jump in, put them down, and ask the dealer 6 and 8, or whatever number you think they're hitting. Again, avoid interrupting that roll. The shooter should not even have to wait for anybody, because that takes them out of the rhythm. And sometimes I see it all the time. People buy in, and it's almost like icing the shooter. Try not to ice the shooter, because then the shooter doesn't like it, somebody that's experienced, and the rest of the table doesn't really like it either. So what to bet on a hot shooter? Just like I said, you might want to place the 6 and 8 if that's what they're hitting, or you might want to do inside if they're hitting those numbers consistently, or if you see them hitting the 4 and 10 quite a bit, maybe buy those. That's going to cost you $26 each, so you could definitely buy those. Another thing to do is, instead of buying and placing, maybe you just start with a come bet, and that will hopefully lead you to the numbers that they're continually hitting. So if an 8 hits, boom, you can go 5 times odds. So that's the power of the come bet, is you can put those odds on there. And you can put odds, takes down the house edge. Fantastic. And then you are actually taking numbers that the shooter is hitting. So honestly, come bets might be the best way. Power press. So if you are placing or buying, power press those. So let's say you've got 30 on the 6. We know that pays 35. You power press that up to 60, or you drop them $1 and you take the whole amount and go straight to 66, and they will pay you out in kind, and 66 pays 77. Pretty straightforward, but it's up to you. There's many different strategies. You can power press or mid press. You can also, what you should do, this is kind of what to bet on. None of this. Don't go to the one roll bets. Maybe throw down some hard ways. It's up to you. But the one roll bets, the all day hard ways, not the hop hard ways, stay away from the one roll bets, because not going to do you good. If they are hitting a lot of the inside numbers consistently, maybe think about hopping all the inside numbers, but not the hard ways. Yeah, it's up to you what you want to do. So let's do this. Let's do a little demo. And let's say there's a hot shooter out there. He's made a couple points, and they're on the 8. So we'll do it out of the bankroll down here, and we are going to place caps on those for 30, and they're looking for the 8. That's a 9. Center field. Yo 11. 4 the hard way. And 8. Winner. There we go. That would be 35. We're going to press that up to 60. Rack that, and we're coming out. And we got a 6 now. We're looking for a 6. And 7 out. Well, that's not a good example, but we did hit that 8. If I could hit 8 all the time, that would have been a great example, but it wasn't. So you see what I did. I pressed. I basically doubled my bet, and then you could collect the next time that hits. That would be $70. Then the next you can press again or lock up half. What I usually do is I'll go 30, I'll double to 60, and then I will go up to 90. So that is kind of what the table minimum for that bet would be. So I'm going up 30 every time. You could do 25 there, but you're not getting the fullest payout that you could. So dangers with this type of persona. Here are the dangers. You enter too late. So, like I said, that roll started. We were already on to 8. We bought in. There could have been 2 numbers or 2 points hit before that. We were going for a third that was 6. That's getting deep into the numbers. We would expect the 7 to show up about 1 out of every 6 rolls. Sometimes you see it way more often, and sometimes you don't see it enough. But over a long period of time, it averages out to be 6, because that's what the math says. Overbetting, throwing max odds or heavy place bets with no hits yet. Okay, like I said, I started kind of at the minimum for 6 and 8. I put caps on them so the payouts would be good. But some people might come in and put $300 down there. 300. Yes, we hit the 8. 300 would pay 350. That would pay off the 8 plus $50, but we 7'd out before hitting the 6 or the 8 again. So we're actually down $250. So that is why you don't want to. That's why you don't want to overbet. And then emotionally anchoring, thinking a shooter has to keep it going because they've gone long already. Every single roll in craps can be a 7, and as a percentage has the largest percentage to roll. Okay, that is the thing. Every roll is unique, and you could jump in, place that 6 and 8, and then immediately 7 out, and you're down. If you go in heavy on the place bets, gone. We went in at the minimum, and we're going to work our way up. That is probably a better strategy. And then controlled aggression, okay? So how do you keep control without tapping bankroll chips? So you might want to say, if you have $2,500 in your starting bankroll, and that's what it is, you might set aside $200, and you might say, okay, that's my bankroll for this chase. Okay, so 8 $25 chips, and that is just for hot rollers, and that would get you in. You with $200 you could go 110 across, so you could expand out to more numbers. That demo we did, we rolled a 9. That would have definitely helped. And you need to make a decision. Do you want to collect first, or do you want to press? If that's what you're going to do, collecting first pays the bet. But you need to decide, and sometimes you need to decide ahead of time, because emotionally you might get into the roll and the crowd and the lot going on at the craps table. The dealers are all in it. So make that decision ahead of time and never go in with your full bankroll in mid-roll. Just don't do it. That's going to come back to haunt you. You know, you might get some winnings out of it, but over the long term, nah, it's not good advice to go in heavy in mid-roll. And then ride only a number or two. So you saw I jumped in only on 2 numbers, and then just a little bit ago I said maybe I should have gone inside. So that is also something to think about. Now, if they are throwing 6 and 8s like no tomorrow, maybe that's what you go in with, and you start off at 60 each. It's up to you. You got to read every situation independently. So when do you know when to stay out of the roll and not get involved? So hot shooters are real. I've seen them, but they're rare. This table's got 14 player positions around it. You might be lucky at a casino table this same size to see 1 hot shooter, possibly 2, maybe 1 hot shooter with like a 45-minute to an hour and a half roll. And then you might have a couple other shooters that have some decent rolls, but the rest are going to be 1 or 2 rolls. They'll set a point, and then after the point set, 1 or 2 rolls after that, and then they're out. And that's what you have to learn is, yes, hot shooters are real, but not everybody's a hot shooter. So enter with that strategy. Leave your emotions checked at the door of the casino. Don't come in and get all emotional, and if you go against your strategy, that is the time to say to yourself, I need to leave, because emotions will get the best of you. And then stick to a high frequency bets like 6 and 8s, or disciplined come bets with odds. I really like the come bet with odds, because you are betting on numbers that the shooter is hitting or has hit. And then press intelligently, not blindly. Do mid press, do power press, but it's up to you to make these decisions. And then again, use that separate chase bankroll. You might want to say, I'm going to chase this shooter. There's my bankroll. Set it aside. When that's gone, quit chasing, because you're not chasing a dream here. You're chasing real money. And $200 might get you there. All right. So the next time the table erupts and somebody yells, this guy's on fire, ask yourself, am I here to ride the wave or get washed out? So always chase smart, or don't chase at all. This is Craps University. Thanks for watching.